Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's discussion is going to regard narcissistic behaviors, sociopathic behaviors, and the insecure behaviors, and just some commonalities amongst the three of them. And I want to discuss these because I really believe that when we start looking at ourselves, especially when we're dealing with insecurities, I want you guys to be aware that you could be portraying some of these traits, which are very damaging to yourself, very damaging to the people you involve with. And not only that, but you will attract, if you exhibit these behaviors, you actually attract more of that stuff into your life. And the big thing that we want to do in making improvements of our life is we want to attract the right kinds of people, the people that don't exhibit those behaviors, that are selfless and respectful and trustworthy. So the first thing I want to talk about is the inability that amongst these three specific situations, the inability to really deal with emotion. And what I mean by that is when an insecure person gets upset, or a sociopath gets upset, or a narcissist gets upset, they have a really, really hard time dealing with that emotion. Now, it could be just random things. It could be over a statement, a joke, just attention gets drawn away from them. These are situations where these individuals, because of their need to be, they need to feel like they're liked. They need to feel like they're important. They need to feel like they have value. And there's so many different scenarios where they're just not going to feel that way. And so they have a really tough time resolving that issue. They have a really tough time letting go. And when they don't let go, when they lock into those feelings, they tend to react because they won't let logic in. The emotion is just taken over. So they won't let logic in. And what'll happen is they lash out. Now it could be at somebody specific. It could be lashing out at someone behind their back. It can be in a very passive aggressive manner in which, you know, they pretend that they're okay. They say that they're okay, but eventually at some point anybody involved is going to cause or get into some sort of trouble with them. And there other, like when I was talking about they don't see things logically, these individuals are so obsessed with the need to be liked, the need to have this distinct, where they feel like they have to have advantage over people, they need to feel superior to people, they need to feel like they're better. When they're kind of falling within themselves with these negative feelings, what it is they're really worried about how people are viewing them. They're really scared that people might actually see them for who they really are. And so the reaction is to get kind of hostile and to attack the individuals or whoever they feel like is attacking them. And the reason for that is they're really kind of scared that they're being found out. And it always starts right from day one. When you meet these people, they're trying really, really hard to present themselves in a manner that is, you know, that through, you know, humor and you know, just being generally charming, funny. Well, humor is the same thing as funny. They're, you know, very complimentary, and what they're really trying to do is they're trying to draw attention away from what's really going on with them. And when that lie, when they build up that idea about who they are, the reality is it's not a real person. It's not an existing person. They're just incapable, because again, they can't deal with negative emotion. They're not capable of communicating in a healthy way. They're not able to communicate in a way where they're trying to understand anybody's point of view, because they want everyone to believe that this is who they are. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to what's going on over here, because this is what I'm telling you I am. And so the reality is they create expectations with all the people that they get involved with. They say, I'm a good person, I'm honest, I'm trustworthy, I'm respectful, stick with me, your life's going to be better. And because they can't live up to that expectation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and because really they're acting from a place of fear, they've been hiding that fear from you, they really do a number on themselves, because this is who they want people to think they are, but over here is where they're really at. And so they become very aggressive and hostile to their friends, to their family, their parents, and they tend to blame anything and everything that's wrong, especially in their emotions, on other people. And what this is so then they lash out. And of course, one of the big things that they like to do is they like to spin things around. They definitely like to avoid admitting to any mistake. It could even happen, something they said, something they did, it could literally have happened just 5 minutes before, and they refused to own up to it. They will not. They will sit there and argue and deny, and they try to make you feel crazy. And this really comes to another point, which is the lack of empathy. These individuals are so concerned with their self, they're so concerned with their thoughts, their emotions, how they feel, what's going on with their lives, that when they get into these situations where they're not resolving their pain and they start lashing out, they think that everybody else is the problem, and they don't realize the harm that they're doing to themselves by being dishonest, and the harm that they're bringing to other people. And when you have a conversation with narcissists or sociopaths, anything that they've ever done to you, a lot of it can be done just on their pure speculation that they think that you've wronged them. And again, it's that emotion. Sometimes those emotions are an overreaction, and when you're dealing with your own emotions, it's a very internal feeling. So you're really doing like a real number on yourself. And so nobody's really responsible for the feelings that you get. And so what happens is these people will make things up. These people will conjure up stories and things to sit there and suggest that you are causing them harm. Like as if you're the one with no feeling whatsoever. You're the one who's not remorseful. And so when they do this lack of empathy, what happens is they dominate conversations to the point where they make everybody else feel crazy or stupid, or make everyone feel like they have to give up because you're not going to win an argument with these people. And so essentially in their mind, they feel like they've won. And so this is something that is very difficult to deal with, and we'll discuss in other situations and other videos on some suggestions that you can do to deal with that. But these people are very stubborn, they're very pig-headed, they're not willing to look at themselves, they just want to blame everybody else, and they show no empathy to the hurt that being around them causes. They just refuse to look from your perspective or from anybody else's perspective. They just want you or expect you to somehow bend yourself and change yourself to fit into what they do. Now, sociopaths do this quite well as well, and insecure people do this too. Maybe not to the extreme. I really believe that insecure people do have a capacity for empathy, but the problem has to do with that. Once we get into a locked state of emotion, once we get insecure or jealous or upset or mad, we tend to really sink our claws into that feeling, and we hang on to it. And I've been known to do it. we can let those emotions take over so much that it affects everything we think about, and it leads to bad decisions. And those bad decisions are often to return hurt. And again, if we're not thinking clearly and we're getting upset over just because we don't feel good about ourselves, you know, a perfect situation is jealousy. A jealous person is looking at a situation, and because they don't feel good about themselves, they don't feel worthy, they don't feel like they have value, and they see somebody in a situation and they're getting jealous, that jealous feeling starts to turn into anger and hurt, and they really grab onto those feelings, and they have a really tough time letting them go, to the point that the next step for them is to do something hurtful and harmful, based on a situation that, again, is not necessarily anything to really be jealous over. It's a hard thing for people to deal with that, and I want everyone to understand this, is because I think we've all been in situations where we've allowed our emotions to create what are kind of illusions about a situation. We've conjured up something that really wasn't there. We really weren't looking at the situation. And so when it comes to learning about ourselves and having that empathy and knowing what it was like to feel those moments of pain, what you should be doing is you should be looking to resolve that by looking at the aspects of our life where we displayed those behaviors. And as we start to understand why we displayed those behaviors, what was triggering them, the mindset of fear, which is a big factor in all of that, that when we start to really resolve these issues and we start to let go of past situations, and we start to, we start to let go of those feelings where I was hurt in this one situation, and I'm in a new one, and I feel like the same thing's happening, and you might just be reliving those painful moments. Once we can start to let that go and start to understand that, and look from things from not of a completely emotionalist point of view, but one more of a balance, where we allow, we always have feelings, they're always going to be there, but we allow logic to be more at the forefront, to let us know, you could be in a situation where you're having a lot of fun, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is really a good person. So we don't allow the emotion to be the deciding factor in who that person is. We allow logic to tell us what's really going on. And so that, again, will be discussed in later videos. But again, the real big messages here is lack of empathy, situations of blaming, where we tend to blame everybody. We blame people for the behavior, we blame people for how we're feeling, we're making everybody else responsible for really is an internal thing that we must learn to deal with. And these traits are very unbecoming. They're not appealing, they're not very attractive, and the only people who really gravitate towards those are people that are actually in those same situations. And that should tell you something. Those are not the people we want to be around. We don't want to be like those people. We want to become better. We want to improve ourselves. We want to get better. We want to be in a place of happiness. And when you surround yourself with those people because you share those traits and you participate in those scenarios, you're gonna repeat. Rinse and repeat is what's gonna happen. So I think I'll leave it there. And again, just remember ourselves with our own emotions. We control us. We control ourselves. We don't control what others do. Others are not responsible for our happiness. That's our job. It's not other people's job to fix our imperfections or our insecurities. It's not other people's jobs to fix our sociopathic tendencies or narcissistic tendencies. But we're also not to blame for what those people do. So having said that, I'm going to say make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button. Make sure you guys are getting your hitting the notifications, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Thanks.